I'm Eitan Weinstein.
And I'm Naor Menninger. And you're listening to Two Nice Jewish Boys.
This podcast is made in collaboration with the Jewish Journal.
Hello.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Today
Hi.
we're talking about elections, about scandals, and about the patriarchy.
Patriarchy. But before we talk about all that, we're live in several places. First of all, this is Eitan. I'm Naor. If you guys don't know us, we're the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast. And we're collaborating with two amazing partners. One is the Jewish Journal. They're at jewishjournal.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is...
Arutz Sheva, Israel National News. You can check them out at israelnationalnews.com.
And guys, you can comment.
Yeah, seriously, comment on the post. Tell us what you think. Ask us questions. We'll try to keep track, while we go and answer questions. And
if you like what you hear, we're everywhere on Spotify,
we're everywhere.
iTunes.
We're everywhere.
With amazing guests.
Just look out your window.
Also, upcoming guests. We're going to have Ronen Bergman tomorrow to talk about some really interesting stuff, so check it out. Okay.
Before we get started, also, we want to mention our great sponsors at The Chosen One, The Chosen One card game. You can find them at thechosenonegame.com. You guys have to check out this game. First of all, it's an amazing holiday gift. It's an amazing gift for...
Hanukkah's coming up.
Yeah, Hanukkah.
Christmas.
Seriously, this is like the best Hanukkah
Ramadan.
gift ever. It's basically a question and answer card. You match them up. One person picks a question, the other person picks an answer card, and the combinations are hilarious. It's Jewish oriented. It's it's 18 plus, but it's a very, very fun game. So check them out, thechosenonegame.com, and you can use our promo code 2NJB. Sorry, 2NJB. Yeah, the number 2NJB, and you use that on their website, and you get a discount. So check them out, thechosenonegame.com.
So yeah. Well, where do we start from?
Oh my God, there's so much, man.
An interesting thing happened last week. Very interesting story. So this family of the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor.
Mm-hmm.
One day she found out that a letter that her grandmother wrote from, I think, Auschwitz is offered for sale. In what's the word?
In an auction.
In an auction.
In an open auction.
Yeah. She was amazed. Here in Israel. The auction here in Israel. Turns out this guy who's a Haredi PR person, pretty famous. He's the father of Melech Zilberschlag, I think, or a relative. His name is Dudi Zilberschlag. He, in his free time, his business is buying and selling memorabilia. Apparently, some of it is a Holocaust-related memorabilia.
He also happens to have another job.
Yeah, he's also on the board of Yad Vashem.
which is
interesting.
A bit of conflict of interest there.
So the family went to the Supreme Court and asked to stop...
So wait, let's slow down for a second.
Okay.
So this family...
Are people watching us on Arutz Sheva and Jewish Journal?
I hope so. Let's see.
But
so this family... Ooh, we got 22 people.
Cool.
Hey, guys. So this family finds out that it was the letter sold.
It was offered,
So it was up for auction.
Yeah.
Well, hasn't been sold yet.
No.
And they're like, hey, this is ours.
This is our grandmother's letter.
Yeah.
It
belongs
shouldn't,
to us.
Yeah, or to Yad Vashem maybe.
Which is crazy because if you aren't there sometimes attempts to reclaim possessions from the German government? Things that have gone lost or that have been...
Art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would think that if something is in possession here in Israel, it would find its rightful owner.
Right. I don't know, what's the legal issue here, what the law says exactly. I think it's gray.
Okay, so this family, they go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and their argument is basically, you can't... In Israel, in the Jewish state, you can't trade Holocaust-related memorabilia
for money.
Yeah, you can't use it you can't sell it.
Yeah,
you can make a business off of it.
So
it's not moral.
So where do we stand now?
And Dudi Zilberschlag, the owner, said, "Look, this is I bought it. I don't know where from, but let's say for the sake of the argument, he went abroad." and found it in an auction and bought it and paid probably a nice sum for it. And he's like, it's my property now. I mean, it's
From,
my
like,
right.
Yeah.
And the family says it's immoral that the guy who is on the board of Yad Vashem is also trading Holocaust-related memorabilia. And the court ruled that the selling of this item should be suspended for the time being. There is not yet a final decision. But that's the situation now. And it's a very interesting conflict of...
Yeah, it is. I mean, it has to be said that it kind of makes sense that a member of the board of Yad Vashem would trade in Holocaust memorabilia because
He's an expert.
I'm assuming that's his passion in life, right? Holocaust history and memorabilia. So,
Right.
it makes sense that he would buy and trade in that. And then, but it's a weird situation.
And also, what's the red line here? Like, if we can sell letters, what about Nazi memorabilia? I mean, why can't we trade that? Where is the? And you're the big free market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wants to, right? I mean, how does a museum procure this stuff? If you're going to have
auctions, yeah,
you're going to have to be able to buy it. So why shouldn't someone be able to buy Nazi memorabilia?
Question is if there should be a law in Israel saying you cannot, if you happen to own an item that's Holocaust related, which is not like from your family, and you got it in an auction or something, you gotta give it to Yad Vashem, for example. Should there be such a law?
If you bought it?
Yeah.
No, but that's...
If you want to, you can't sell it.
Can you sell it to Yad Vashem? I
don't
mean,
know.
what would be then no one would buy any, that you would either have a black market in Holocaust memorabilia or no one would buy,
Yeah. Yeah.
which seems to me kind of pointless.
But the family, I mean, you can relate to the family as well. I mean,
yeah, you can
they
understand.
want the letter,
Yeah.
but then again, they can buy it in the auction if it's really important for them.
Yeah. And this is, it kind of brings up the issue that in Israel, you go straight to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's like with any little thing, it's like,
Right.
hey,
And the
figure
Supreme
this out.
Court, yeah, and they have immense power,
Yeah.
and they can rule, like, they can stop auctions, they can stop, they can do practically anything. In theory, they can
And
overrule.
then what's messed up is that, okay, the Supreme Court decides something. Who do you appeal to? You can't appeal.
No.
There's nowhere else to go.
Right.
There's a which
You can
kind of
change the-
highlights. I mean, we're going a bit off topic, but it kind of highlights the whole justice system, like a certain flaw in the justice system here, which is the idea that you go up through the justice system, and as it works in the United States, where you start at more local courts, and then slowly, if you're not happy with the verdict, you appeal to the higher court and to the higher court, and then eventually you reach the Supreme Court. But this way
Right.
you have checks and balances all the way up. And finally, okay, so if all these courts have decided the same, then you can say, okay, you know what? We have a bunch of different opinions on this. But if you go straight to the Supreme Court, the power is in the hands of, I don't know, however many
judge,
judges
maybe
they
one
decide to
even.
put, maybe one, maybe three. And,
Yeah, the only
and
thing
boom,
you can do
it's done.
is legislate a new law that would counter the decision.
And then they can knock that
and then,
down.
And then, yeah, you can appeal against that law, and then, yeah.
We digress. Anyway, okay, so next up,
Yeah,
we're talking. We recently had a guest on the podcast. You guys should listen to the episode.
it's not out yet.
Actually, that's true.
Yeah,
but it'll be coming out soon.
Yeah,
It's coming out next week. Ya'ara Cohen.
Right. We recorded it last week. We're going to release it next week, I guess.
Yeah.
But there were some fierce arguments. And beforehand, we want, since...
We should give, first of all, like a introduction to who
Right.
she is. She's the founder of Politically Correct, which is Israeli organization, NGO that basically gives a perspective on news articles and content that's coming out
Feminist
through the media, a feminist perspective.
Yeah.
Politically correct literally translates to politically correct translates to she reads.
Right.
So like she reads political content basically. And we've had other guests where this topic has come up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we've had plenty of other guests. I think
Yeah.
we might have discussed it with Daphne Leaf. Daphne Leaf was the
Also
kind of
Daniel
leader.
Barron.
Yeah,
I guess.
Daphne Leaf was the leader of the 2011 protests here.
Yeah.
The social justice protests. Daniel Barron. But we've talked a lot about privilege.
Right. And in the episode, you'll hear it next week when we release it, the word came up a lot. And then I said, and I didn't have time to elaborate because it was very intense conversation there. But I said, I don't believe and I don't accept the concept of privilege.
Yeah. How come?
Because, look, privilege here
That's
in
a
Israel...
privileged viewpoint.
Yeah.
That was her response.
Yeah, I know.
That's a privilege. You can't
it's a
really
dead
argue.
end.
It's a tautology.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't argue your way out of that.
Right.
I don't believe in privilege. Well, that's privileged.
Yeah, nowadays in Israel, I don't know what's going on in the States, but in Israel, yeah, I guess in the States as well, like the word privileged is thrown at you so quick.
Usually like 2 seconds before the word
Racist.
racist is thrown at you. It goes privilege. Like if you were called privileged, you know you're about to be called a racist.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Yeah, you can set the clock. And I said I don't believe in this concept because, well, why do people use it here to say essentially you should be thankful for the fact that you have education, that your parents had the funds to raise you and to send you to school and to take care of you, and because you grew up in such circumstances, you are not allowed to judge or criticize anyone who grew up in circumstances that are less fortunate.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of luck, they claim.
Well, I think it goes even deeper than that. The idea is that from your perspective, right, from your privileged perspective, you can't
You're blind.
understand the point of view of a person who is at a less privileged perspective.
Right.
Which means basically it comes back to the argument. I mean, this gets a bit philosophical, but it comes back to the argument of absolute truth, right? And whether or not there is an absolute truth. Because the idea is that, like, if you're a privileged person and you can't look at another underprivileged person and pass judgment on them based on your absolute truths, because your absolute truths aren't true to them. But then it all falls apart.
There's
because
another
where do you draw the
problem,
line?
because if someone was born in a poor neighborhood and worked his way up and became successful, like Yitzchak Tshuva is a good example. Okay, Yitzchak Tshuva was no one. He was a construction worker, and slowly but surely he's an Israeli who built his real estate empire by simply being a good businessman and innovation and excelling in what he did in his job. So, but once you cross that line and you become successful, even if you came from hard background, then you cross the privilege bridge
Threshold.
Yes, and there's no going back. Now, even though you know where you came from and you know the people from the same mentality, you are now privileged.
Because you can't understand someone who's never crossed the line.
Exactly. So now you can't say anything. So you can't go out of this
Speaking
argument.
of people who cross the line, I think it's important that they have to define it that way, because otherwise the whole thing would fall apart. What happens is you look at the United States. I'm not sure what actually the statistics are here. I'm not even sure exactly about the numbers in the States, but you look at income mobility, and people are talking always about how the poor are getting poorer. And in the United States, I think it's a large majority, over 50% of people are at some point in their life in the top 10, 5%.
Right.
Meaning they reach that level. People are constantly moving up and down, which is just a testament to the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're privileged or not privileged. If you have the perseverance, you have the determination, you have the
merit.
Well, if you just simply have like the right values, then you can climb.
The only difference between Israel and America is that in America you can claim, okay, there are certain families who made their fortune in the time of slavery, right? In the time of I don't know what.
Yeah, but they would say the same about that here people made their fortunes on the in the wake of occupation or on the backs of Palestinians.
Okay,
or, you get what I'm saying?
but let's stay in the argument within Israeli society. Okay, let's rule out those extremists who would say we did it over occupation. But my point is, if you put aside occupation for a second, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s,
there was nothing quite.
Everyone
as,
started from zero, more
Yeah.
or less. Like people might have come from Germany in 32 with some money, but still, like they had no language. Maybe their occupation was irrelevant, right?
No, but I don't think that's necessary. Meaning, there was the Mapai, right? And if you weren't a member of the party, you were a lot of the time screwed.
Well,
So
but,
it's like-
but back
but I
then
think
everybody were. In
most
the
of the
30s,
people.
in the 30s and the
Yeah.
40s, everybody were on Mapai, and later in the 50s and 60s, I mean, yeah, it helped if you were a member of the party.
Yeah.
But many people weren't. But if we look even further to the 60s and 70s, where many Jews came from Mizrahi countries also, but also Ashkenazi countries. Like my grandparents and father came in 73, which is relatively late. And my point is, most people started from nothing. Even if you had you were a member of the party, right? You would still get, like my grandfather and grandmother from the other side, they were members, but they still were very hard working people who made like a few liras and had nothing.
They built it
like
up.
it didn't help
Yep.
you become rich. Maybe it got you a job and you had something to put on the table, but not. So my point is that everybody started from more or less the same place. And what makes the difference today, like what I tell people, they call me privileged. I say, but like, why am I privileged? I mean, my parents worked hard their whole life. Their parents worked extremely hard, and they saved some money.
But it's more than that.
And
I mean,
invested
come
in
on.
my
It's like if
education.
you're born to. It's not like if you're born to rich parents. I mean, that your life is set. There are plenty of people who squander their riches, end up getting addicted to drugs because they don't have the right values. They don't find meaning in life, and then they might start off at this point that you're calling privileged, but in the end, it all ends up crumbling beneath them because they aren't like on the right path.
The big question is, what's the
But
big
what's
difference?
people are going to watch this and say it's two
Too
privileged
privileged.
white guys
Yeah.
talking about
That's
privilege
the thing, right?
and the patriarchy.
You can't have an objective argument. But my point is, what is the difference between Romanian Jewish family that came in 73 and built themselves from nothing, and they were not educated, they didn't have university degrees or anything, to a family, I don't know, of Russian Jews who came in 92 from nothing. If even the 92 family, the family who came in 92 had more opportunities than the family that came in 73. So
No, but that you see, that's the funny thing is that you say more opportunities, and that really is the truth. Like in today, in Israel's society today, I mean, come on, guys. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, Israel was a shitty place, excuse my language, to live. Like,
Yeah.
no one wanted to come here. That's why Tel Aviv's prices have been skyrocketing. No one, like, it was in the dirt in that period because no one wanted to
Yeah.
come here. No one wanted to be here. It wasn't that great of a country.
moreover, in the 30s, like when my grandfather came in 25, they starved.
Well, yeah. I mean, back then it's not
Like-
even like. But what I'm saying is that most people. So you look at Israel today.
Mm-hmm.
It is just like it's just like it's a land of possibilities. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity here. Like,
Right.
There's just tons of opportunity. Whatever you're looking, if you're looking just to find a job, or if you're an entrepreneur, or whatever it is that
Right.
you want to do, you can come here and you can do it. But the whole privilege perspective of the argument looks at the situation now and says, no. Now the game is already set.
Right.
There are the people at the top. There are the people at the bottom. And it's just this like completely closed, narrow-minded way of looking at society where like there's like a fixed, picture, and wherever you enter, that's where you stay.
Right.
It's
And
just-
there's also a problem of numbers. For example, there was a huge article now that Arab Palestinians from East Jerusalem, the numbers of Palestinians from East Jerusalem who go to study in the Hebrew University in the last decade skyrocketed.
Wow.
Okay? And I mean, yeah.
But the occupation's horrible.
No, so first of all, it goes to show what the Likud, like, you can't say the Likud hasn't done anything. Like, the numbers talk.
Yeah.
That's the first fact. And the second fact is that, like, these are not necessarily rich families. And granted, going to university in Israel is much cheaper than America, but still, it's an expense. So only if it's important to you and you want to like, if education is important to you, then, like, these families that I presume some of them are hard working laborers who do from building, construction to I don't know what, small business owners. They don't come from easy backgrounds in East Jerusalem, but since education is important, they save money. They send their children to the Hebrew University, and their children will now be doctors and, I don't know, computer scientists and all this, and programmers and high tech.
Hopefully leaders in the Palestinian community.
So that's a live example that if you work hard, save money, and invest it in your children's education here in Israel, then you can pull your family out.
Even if you're an East Jerusalem Palestinian.
Yeah, which is pretty extreme example.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to, it's not, we're talking about a lot of the stuff that we talked about with Ya'ara Cohen. We really, when the episode comes out, we really
it's like
encourage you guys to listen to it. We love, in general, just so you guys have an idea of what the podcast is all about, we love bringing people on with opposing opinions.
Even if they call us racist.
We have Avner Gvaryahu, which is the CEO of Breaking the Silence.
Tamar Zandberg was
Tamar
here.
Zandberg,
Michael
who was the
Oren
head of
was
Meretz, Michael Oren, but we also have, of course, had people on more our side of the political aisle. But we love doing that, and I think that's kind of the most important part of this podcast in general, about not necessarily podcasting, but about having conversations, is listening to the other side and, freedom of speech.
Right.
You got to hear
and
listen.
you had an argument with Yara about the patriarchy.
Yeah. I don't know how much we want to get into it, but do we have like an hour and a half? Okay. But I don't know. The idea, I said this also on the podcast, so you guys will hear it on the episode, but I just feel like the idea of the patriarchy is this, to me, it's extreme. I mean, I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand what it's trying to say.
Okay.
I mean, like, to me, it seems like if you're saying that men are, I don't know, physically more powerful than women, is that what it means? That men stand like
I don't even know what it means.
Are the dominant gender of in our species,
right?
Dominant physically, which when you get down to the base, but when you get down to the basics, no. So that's what I would tie together. But what I'm saying is, if you're trying to just claim that men are the dominant physical gender or sex in our species, then that doesn't seem to me like a social construct. And I think therein lies the problem, that they're trying to paint the hierarchical structure of the human species as some kind of social construct that we can break down and reorganize. And we can say, okay, this isn't how it should be. But I think it totally misses the point, because I don't think that what has equalized sort of the standing of men and women is saying, okay, we need to bring down men and reduce their power in the world and make women more powerful or any. I don't think that's what has changed. I don't know, the way the world works or the way the world is. I think what's changed is the fact that freedom has become a central value in Western society. Freedom doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You can, do what you want. You can work as what you want.
It relates to our previous discussion.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's not a matter of today. I mean, it's not perfect today, but what I'm saying is the more you highlight the aspect of freedom and the less you highlight this idea that, like, men have been dominating women since the beginning of time. I think that's an awful idea. I heard Jordan Peterson, who I'm a huge fan of, talk about this. And he says, you think about it, it's it's such an abomination. Like, men and women have been living side by side and raising children and building this world we live in for, like, all of history. And to say that men, I mean, yeah, there have been evil, powerful men throughout history, but there have also been good, strong, powerful men. And there have been women just right there alongside them. And I think it's just this, like, skewed perspective on history.
The only thing is women face problems that men don't when it comes to, for example, like
Sexual abuse.
Yeah, sexual abuse,
Yeah.
abuse, and in war, especially in work. At work, if you're an attractive woman, you face, and in the military and in the police, you face some problems, and you can very easily find yourself in a situation. And unfortunately I also witnessed it, and it's
I
a
think
very very problematic situation where, like, your superiors are flirting with you. What do you do?
Yeah.
Like,
That gets really dicey. It's like,
you're in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
And
I think that obviously sexual abuse and sexual harassment, I mean, that's the idea. It's freedom, right? So you don't have the right to do anything to anybody coercively, right?
but it can be so gray sometimes.
So yeah, then
So
it
ambiguous.
then it gets really complex.
Right.
What are the appropriate lines, and how do we define them?
So
and
I
what's
think we should
crossing
be
the
pretty
line?
fierce about that.
Absolutely.
Fiercer than today. Okay.
We're on YouTube, by the way,
Yes,
guys.
we are on YouTube. Please go
Hopefully
to YouTube.
this will be on YouTube.
This will be on
if
YouTube
we can
in
figure
an,
how to
in an
figure out the
enhanced-
interwebs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In an
and how to make
enhanced
it work.
edition.
Yeah.
Edition. So go to YouTube. Just type Two Nice Jewish Boys and subscribe. It helps us.
Subscribe, and apparently it's very important to hit the
bell icon.
So
Right.
hit the bell and subscribe. It's just one more click. Come on.
So please do it. It helps us. And so yeah, it looks like, Eitan, if nothing like crazy happens,
We get another vacation day.
Yeah, we get another vacation day, and we're
You
going.
don't, because you're a freelancer.
Yeah.
I do.
We're going to elections. It looks. Gantz has
man.
16 days left
Yeah.
to form a coalition. Right now, it doesn't look like anything's happening.
Yeah, I wonder what the statistics are on, like, how long it generally takes to form a coalition. Like, if a coalition is formed, how long is it in the first week? Is it in the first 10 days?
It usually lasts to the.
It's like the whole statistic about kidnappers, like, right? If you're not saved within the first minute, you're
Right.
probably dead.
Yeah.
So it's like, if the
So-
coalition isn't formed in the first week.
Yeah.
Eh.
No, it forms in the last days. It's
really?
Yeah. We're in
They
Israel.
usually eat up all the 28 days.
Yeah. Because, each side, like, all the different parties have demands,
Yeah.
and the guy who's forming the coalition refuses, and you have negotiations, and then in the last minute,
So who knows?
so
Maybe
who
we
knows? But it doesn't seem
When you look at the
plausible.
way the cards are stacked, it seems impossible.
Right.
Because basically, you're probably more equipped to break
Gantz
it down.
Gantz has now 44. You need 61 to form a coalition, or you can have a minority government if you
Have a
because
simple majority,
Netanyahu
which
has
means-
55 mandates with him. He has a chunk of 55 parliament members, including himself. So ideally, if Gantz gets 61, he can form a coalition. But if he gets 56, he can also form a coalition because he has more than Netanyahu's
Yeah.
55. The problem Gantz has is he has 44. The people from Netanyahu's chunk, the 55, will never supposedly cross the lines, so he
Yeah.
can't count on them. So he's left with two parties, Lieberman's party and the Arabs' joint party.
Lieberman isn't enough because he's 8.
Lieberman's is 8.
That gives him 52.
and
Still
he
less.
will not sit with Meretz. Also.
Yeah, but let's just
Let's-
say he
yeah.
would.
Yeah.
Not enough. It's 8.
Yeah, it's more probable that the Arab party would join. The only problem is the Arab party is made of several little parties. And the most extreme one, which is, I think, Balad, yes, they're the most extreme little party there in the joint. Together they have 13 mandates. But without them, the
So with
extreme one,
them,
they
just-
have 10.
So with all 13, 44 plus 13, it would be 57, enough
Then
to
it's enough.
to do a minority
but
government.
the problem is these three extremists,
Yeah.
they will never do it.
And then he has 54.
Exactly. Which is still and
not enough.
Lieberman will never vote with the Arabs.
So you can't get Lieberman and any of the Arab parties.
Right.
Basically.
And vice versa.
Yeah. So there's no constellation. The only constellation which seemed plausible for a little while at the beginning of this coalition cycle or coalition and negotiation cycle was that there might be a unity government where Gantz would sit with the right-wing parties or with maybe just Bibi.
Yeah, but Bibi
since-
won't separate from his
Yeah.
posse.
And it didn't happen all through. I mean, there was an offer, mitveh,
Right.
proposal made by the president, Rivlin.
Right, for us. Splitting it half and half, more or less.
And it was turned down. So it doesn't seem like it would make any sense why it would suddenly work out now.
No.
So
no,
we're,
it
we're
won't.
going to third elections.
Yeah, probably in the beginning of March.
All right. So we have Naor's official prediction,
Yes.
guys. If you think
Write
he's
it down.
wrong, comment, tell us.
So I approached Eitan the other day, and I was like, let's go to a movie.
Yeah. And we're going tonight.
Yeah, we're going tonight. But
you have
not,
to give me credit.
Yeah, we are going, but so... it's-
Well, okay, so you wanted to go. I mean, we are going at 9:40 at night, and it's a 2-hour movie.
So,
So that puts me back home way past my bedtime.
how old are you?
You don't ask. You don't ask
A
a,
gentleman.
Lady. You don't ask a lady that. No, I'm 30.
I'm not assuming your gender. So.
Yeah. You don't want to piss off any of our past guests.
You don't presume the age of enter gender.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, man. I'm 30, but it seems to me that like I'm gonna get home past 12. Okay.
When do you wake up?
I don't know, like 7:15.
So 7 hours of sleep.
I don't necessarily go to sleep early, but I need to be home early.
I see.
Okay. I'm either like a very small child or like a very old man, however you want to look at it. I need to be in my house at an early hour. You know, I like to read the paper. I like to watch the news. I
Right.
like
Feed the
to-
cat.
I like to feed the cat. I have a girlfriend, okay? This needs to be said at this point. All right? Otherwise,
When
I
one
might
night
start-
off.
I might start seeming like I fit the profile
Once
of a
a
serial
year.
killer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit, I don't know. It's a bit late for me, 9:40 to go to a movie, but I think I will see. You might have to wake me up at the end.
Okay.
I might
I'll fill you in.
Yeah. It's
going
kind
to
of
the
like going to a movie
Terminator.
with your dad, you know?
Right.
I'll be like asleep.
Even my dad
snoring.
is more
Young.
easygoing than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my granddad.
I don't know why I live in Tel Aviv anymore.
Right. You should go to Givatayim.
People invite me to like bars and clubs, and it just like stresses me out. Like the idea of like I don't like the idea of being cool. I think there's something
It
that
shows.
puts me off about being like cool and hip. It's just like it's too much effort.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like why?
I mean, for you, it's you come out as cool effortlessly.
Yeah. It's just
Look at you
it
with
just
the
comes
beer.
natural. It just
Yeah.
comes natural.
Beer. The
This is
purple
the only
shirt.
thing that's come natural to me my whole life. Alcohol.
So we saved the most interesting topic for last, and that's being a huge controversy here.
I just read about it yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. First of all, I watched a short clip about him.
Okay. Let's.
We'll tell you guys who he is in a minute.
Okay.
And it really moved me.
Right.
Like,
And you're not
this
easily
man's-
moved.
No.
Last
I'm
time you
not.
moved
I'm
was
not. Yeah.
when Trump
was tonight
elected.
to go out to this movie.
Yeah, and go to the movie.
And
okay.
no, but seriously, it's this man's like life mission is just unbelievable.
The name of this man, he's Rabbi
Feel
Philo.
Yeah.
Who is he?
So
Tell the
he's,
audience.
I mean, I don't know much about him. I just read about it last night. But basically, he leads a non-for-profit organization, a charity organization, basically, that matches patients that are terminal, not terminal, but that are basically on the precipice of death, and matches them with the best fit medical treatment that they can get, whether it's a doctor or a special treatment
Right.
or some special machine that they need.
He's a self-taught.
He's self-taught, and he matches these people up. He gets,
It doesn't have to
tens
be
of thousands of calls.
right. A
And
year.
basically a year. I think more a year. I think in 1 month they mentioned in this article that there was like 11,000 or something in a month.
Right.
So he gets thousands and thousands of calls, and he picks basically who to match, based on what's the most dire situation. Because in Judaism, there's an idea of chayei sha'ah, right? Which is basically the concept is halachically that any second of life you can give, you can grant to someone is like basically surpasses everything, right?
Yeah.
So you can break Shabbat, you can break Yom Kippur, you can do whatever you want. You can break almost all the laws of Judaism in order to give someone one more second of life.
Right.
So he picks the person who's in the most dire situation, flies them across spends tens of thousands of dollars to give them the treatment, and asks for nothing in return.
Yeah. It's
How
an
does he
NGO.
get? Yeah. How does he get this money? Obviously from donations.
Yeah.
And that's where this became, a scandal.
So essentially, they threw out a charity event.
Yeah,
here in
to
Tel
raise
Aviv.
donations.
Yeah, we've
To save lives.
Yeah, and to honor him as well.
Yeah,
And
to honor him. But I come on, I think that if it was just to honor him, he would be like, no, thank you.
right.
Meaning the point of this was to get rich people there to spend money.
Yeah.
And to spend money so that they could help save people's lives.
And since he's religious, obviously, it turned out one of the bands have a woman singer, and they asked her not to join the performance in this particular event so that the rabbi won't hear women sing.
Yeah.
Although it's worth mentioning, women will be on stage. One of the hosts
Is a woman.
is a woman,
There are women. There
and
are
it's
women
mixed
members of the band
audience.
who play instruments.
and it's mixed audience, so there is no separation between men and women.
Which I think honestly is irrelevant. I really think it's irrelevant.
But wait, let's finish the point. So
Yeah.
but liberals here in Israel, some of the artists as well who were supposed to participate, and like Tel Aviv liberals and feminists also were outraged,
Yeah.
and they were like, how dare they tell women not to perform?
Yeah.
If it bothers him, then he should leave the room when the woman goes up on stage.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even sure how involved he was in the decision,
right.
but there was, so basically there were a couple of artists that backed out.
Yeah.
And
But
said we can't.
but most of them, even women artists, said like, this time we're sticking, like, because it's such an important cause, we'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it. And I happen to have had an argument about it, like with friends who said this is outrageous. And I was
Outrageous.
like,
What is outrageous?
that they ask women not to perform. And my point was, look, but it's a private event. It's a private event, and so like they could, like, they pay. Yeah, the artists are volunteering, but they don't force anyone to volunteer.
No, but then the counter argument is, well, yeah, it's a private event. They're welcome to do it. But, these artists, if it doesn't sit well with their, with their conscience,
Yeah, but nobody.
then they can
Yeah,
can back out.
But that's okay. But nobody said anything to these artists. Who, like, I think the organizers have no problem with the artists who say, "Okay, this we won't do it." But the thing is,
No, but I have a problem with
okay,
I
but
think
but
that's,
people said it doesn't matter if some artists back out, because this event should not take place. It sends a message that woman's voice is a disaster. It's an abomination, and if it's a slippery slope. Because
no. So I don't think anybody's actually. I mean, I don't know. There was an event recently where there was segregation of women and men. A
All the
religious
time.
event in the
All the
north,
time you have it.
that
In North-
Bezalel Smotrich, right, attended.
you had in Tiberias, and you all the time you have events
and
in
it was almost
Haifa.
called off, the event, right? Because there was some kind of government funding.
Exactly,
or something.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
So my friend said in the argument, when I told them, look, it's a private event, they said, yeah, but the hall where they do it is owned by Tel Aviv municipality.
Oh God.
So like, but they paid for it. Like Tel Aviv
Yeah.
municipality is renting these halls to.
Yeah, but how could Tel Aviv municipality profiteer off such a horrible, horrible, horrible abomination, a sin?
Exactly.
It seems to me just like okay, I don't agree with the idea of not being able to listen to a
Yeah,
woman's
I mean,
voice.
when you sing, it's much
Yeah,
more
it's
deafening.
Much, yeah, it's like hearing a woman sing.
It's worse.
Yeah. The dying woman. No, but seriously, I don't get the idea of like not being able to hear a woman sing. But that's the crux of it. It's like, so you don't agree. So what? First of all, so you don't agree, so what? Like, it doesn't matter if it's a bar mitzvah or I don't care what kind of event it is. If they don't want to have women perform and it's whoever's event it is, they agree that that's what they don't want and that's the values they live by, then it's
a private event. What can you do?
Their values. And I can hear people saying like, oh, well, it's values to like, genital mutilation. And it's like, that's not the same. There's no coercion or physical harm done to anybody. They don't want women to perform. They don't want to pay. They don't want to spend their money on women to perform. Again, I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid, but more so than that, when it's an event to save lives. This guy also doesn't only just save lives of Haredi kids. He saves, like, he doesn't ask questions at all in this order.
And anyone can approach him.
It can be anybody. It can be a Jewish, non-Jewish, girl, boy, religious, secular, doesn't matter. This man is doing like an amazing service to society. And then like Mush Ben Ari, when he has the opportunity
famous
to
singer.
Mush Ben Ari is a famous singer who backed out. Has the opportunity to take part in, like, I would be honored to. So I have to put aside my value.
It's a crash of values, you must admit.
That's what I'm saying. That I think that people are like, we're in this stage where people think that any value is it's virtue signaling, right? So it's like any opportunity I have to show that I have some kind of value, I'll take it and I'll put that value on a pedestal above all other values so that people know that I have this value.
Uh-huh.
But, like, you have to have a hierarchy of values. Like, if someone's life is at risk, it's more important than not calling someone a him or a her. Right? So it's like, or allowing a woman to sing on stage. So it's like,
look, if I would get it if Tel Aviv municipality said, like, what I told in the argument to those people, I said, you know what, if Tel Aviv municipality said they won't rent halls to events anymore, that would be okay, like to private events. Because the problem is, you either let everybody rent your hall or you let nobody.
I don't know
in the
why
middle,
they own halls, but
yeah. Well, otherwise you'll have to you'll have people working in the municipality deciding like a little court deciding like which event fits your it's endless.
Yeah.
And so what
basically what you're saying is the hall only goes to people who fit one value set? Like, I don't understand. If it's owned by the municipality, which is a part of the government, which is supposed to represent the people, and part of those people want to use that hall for a certain purpose, isn't it their right just as much as any other people that are in the society?
Yes.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But there's this outrage around it because it's like, oh no, women can't stand on stage and sing. I think it's not. It doesn't.
People are afraid it's a slippery slope, which leads us to the last topic, which is not here, but I'll tell you about it. There was a big controversy about. We're running out of battery here. About.
Oh no.
So here's the thing. We don't have a government for almost a year, right? So all kinds of strange things happen because of it. And one of those things is people that, in Israel, there's a status quo when it comes to pig meat, like pork. Did you hear this story? No.
No, but I know like the original law.
Right.
And
anyway, so there's a status quo. And since 94, since Rabin administration, you are allowed to import some parts of the pork, like the guts of the pork and all kinds of the fat of the pork. And recently, since Derry, who's religious, is the Minister of Internal Affairs, and recently they put out a new law that says in order to bring any kind of pork meat, it has to have a kosher certificate.
Yeah. He sent it to me. I was like,
Yeah.
what? What does that even mean?
Which renders ineffective, renders it pointless.
Yeah. This just goes to show how bureaucracy works, right? It's like, well, we can't get it, so let's make up a completely illogical rule.
So so essentially religious parts of government took advantage of the fact that there is chaos now because there is no government, and put out this law, and now the prices of pork will skyrocket, and it's expensive as it is.
We should open up a organization, a rabbinate, and give kashrut to different pig items. Be like, ha, this is kosher.
This is that would be illegal.
Kosher with a Q.
But anyway, so what people essentially are afraid of is that you start it starts with the little things, like not allowing women to sing on stages, and it might end in being a Jewish state unless a democratic state. So
yeah.
We have people like Nicky is writing.
Oh, we have some comments?
He says, seems there's always scandal going on from those who are afraid truth will set people free.
Yeah, I think it's true. People are afraid of the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Right.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It is.
So I don't know. There is no bottom line with the pork story.
But I think it's interesting. I think on truth, by the way, it's on the point of Nicky.
Yeah, Nicky.
We have a bunch of comments there.
Yeah, like Shalom from CT, Shalom from Cordoba, Brazil, Shalom from Bloomington, Indiana.
Well, let's give them out a shout out. Let's give a shout out to Flavio Barbalat and Leo Weinstein Monk and Jaden Falcone. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thanks, guys, for commenting.
And share, spread the word about. If you like the podcast, please send it to your friends and family.
Roberto Cernach wrote "bye-bye" from Italy. I guess he tuned in for a second and was like, "All right, I'm out." Anyway, but to speak to the point of the truth, I think it's like people are afraid to realize that they're it's like this desire to feel like there is a truth,
right.
Like that you know the truth, right? That I think causes all these scandals. It's like, wait a second, we can remember that we don't know, right? We're not certain that the things we know, and right? And it's like that I am right. And it goes back to that absolute truth, but it's like,
yeah, I
don't think it should be as gray as not knowing what the truth is, but
yeah, I lost you completely.
Anyway, well,
maybe
it's
after, Nicky.
Yeah. Nicky, you know what I'm talking about, Nicky.
So that is it, more or less. Thank you guys for tuning in. Before we go, first of all, if you like the podcast, subscribe. We're on iTunes.
Yes.
We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube, everywhere.
So go to all those places, hit subscribe,
and
follow us. Make us the center of your universe.
Right. Huge thank you to Arutz Sheva.
Yes.
We're collaborating with them. They're a great place to get updates about everything that's going on in Israel in English. They have a gorgeous website full of interesting, fascinating stories. Check them out at israelnationalnews.com.
We also have a collaboration with the Jewish Journal guys, who has great columns, great podcasts.
They give an LA perspective.
Yeah, so Jewish Journal is based out in LA. They have great podcasts from David Suissa, who has some amazing guests. He gets some of the top names out in LA. Shmuel Rosner has a podcast there, and in general, they have great content. So check them out, jewishjournal.com.
Also, we have
thechosenonegame.com. Use our promo code 2NJB, and you get a discount.
Number 2.
It's a great gift. Yeah, the number 2NJB is the promo code. It's a great gift for Hanukkah, for the holidays. So check them out. support them, support our show, and
we accept donations, guys.
we do this on our free time. So,
As you
so
can
if you
see,
want to
it's
help
quite a
us
setup
out,
here.
yeah,
It takes a lot of effort.
So we're still trying to get a studio on top of Azrieli. So
Right.
we need a couple
Or under a
100
bridge
million.
in the central bus station.
Yeah, well, either one will do. But seriously, we do this on our free time. So if you want to help us out, go to 2njb, the number 2njb.com/donate.
That is it. So
yeah.
entertain the guests. I want to put the outro. Entertain the audience.
I'm supposed to entertain the audience.
Yeah,
what do I do?
'cause
Should I
don't
sing?
know.
We
Yeah.
already talked about how that's a bad idea.
No, I don't know. Just shout out to someone.
Okay.
Tell
Shout
them
out
about,
to my mom.
Tell them about
Hey, Mom. I love you.
upcoming guests.
Upcoming guests. So we're interviewing Ronen Bergman tomorrow. Ronen Bergman was the author of Rise Up and Kill First, which is a book about the Mossad. We already interviewed him about that
Hillel
book.
Fold.
We have Hillel Fould, who we interviewed. Hillel Fould is a tech blogger, knows so much about the startup industry, and just told us all about like startups and what it's like here. Check them out, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back next week with a new episode.
Oh, even this week on Thursday or Wednesday. Bye.
Bye, guys.